Development Agency of May 13th, 2008. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads. Thank you for allowing us to meet this evening. Help myself and my colleagues make the right decisions for the citizens of Newman and thank God, our children that were involved with a minor incident in Yosemite are all okay. Amen. Amen. Roll call, please.
Councilmember King?
Present.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Crinklaw?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina?
Present.
Mayor Fantasia?
Present. Declarations of conflicts of interest. Do we have any this evening? We do have a proclamation this evening. I'd like to I'll come up to the mic there and invite Bernice to come up. Bernice, I'm not going to read this whole proclamation, but I just want to thank the Health Services Agency and yourself for helping out with this asthma coalition, and therefore, I, John Fantasia, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Newman, do by here proclaim May as Asthma Awareness Month in the City of Newman, and commend you for this observance and for helping out all the residents of the City of Newman. Thank you, Bernice. I'm sure you have a few words you'd like to say about the program.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation, very much so appreciate the proclamation. I work with a wonderful group out of Modesto. It's the Stanislaus Asthma Coalition that is comprised of physician, several school nurses, many employees from public health in Stanislaus County. And they are always very impressed about what we do in our little town of Newman. I just want you to know that. We had a health fair here 2 years ago, and they were just very impressed and amazed at the people that turned out. So I just want you to know that our little town has made headlines over with our asthma coalition. We continue to promote, educate, and help prevent this sometimes life-threatening condition of asthma. When the FLAG program first came out, I did take a little bit of flack, I have to say, from some school parents and school officials, but they now understand the reason why. The air is dirty. None of us need to be out there breathing it, and sometimes we have to. But we keep helping, and we hopefully can get the word out, and I would like to see that not be a condition that our students have to deal with. But as long as we have dirty air, we'll have to deal with it. And Mayor Fantasia, I would like to also thank you for your thoughts in your opening prayer of our YOLO students. A week ago tomorrow actually was a very scary day. Thankfully, it all turned out. Thankfully, all our students were returned safely. And I really have to say that I feel our district did a wonderful job of making sure everyone was cared for, and I compliment Dr. Foss on organizing and being our incident commander. It was a situation that Yosemite officials said to them, it's a nightmare that we hope never happened, but they were right there and they handled everything very well. So again, thank you for your thoughts and your prayers, and thank you for the proclamation.
You're welcome, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
I actually got a call from our Congressman Dennis Cardoza in Washington. He had seen it on the news, and just wanted to make sure everything was okay. So that was, people are noticing all the way back east, good or bad. Items from the public, non-agenda items. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring before us that is not on tonight's posted agenda? Seeing nothing. Consent calendar. Waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. Approval of warrants and approval of minutes of the April 22nd, 2008 regular meeting.
I move for approval.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. 9, public hearings. We have one this evening. Adopt resolution number 2008, next number, a resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. We have 4 homes this evening that are in need of the abatement process. All of them are very similar in nature. I believe you have the photographs in your package. All of them are basically for tall grass, weeds, these types of things throughout the property that are in violation of the city ordinance. The homes are vacant and not being cared for. Each of the property owners have been contacted or attempted to be contacted in various means and through direct contact, through mail, including certified letters and et cetera, with no results from any of the property owners. So we're asking to move forward with the abatement process this evening for each of these homes.
Questions for the chief? So none, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment on these abatements? See no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back for some action.
I so move for adoption of resolution number 2008, next number, declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. 10, regular business, item A, review and consider for approval the completed classification and compensation study.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Back in October, the council approved Coffin Associates to perform a classification and compensation study for us. Tonight, Katie with Coffin Associates is here to go over the completed studies. Katie?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Katie Caneco. I'm the president of Coffin Associates, and we're a human resources consulting firm. We specialize in the public sector, having about 90% of our businesses in the public sector, performing similar studies for cities, counties, and special districts. About 70% of our business is in classification and compensation, so we do a lot of these studies. We were hired by the city of Newman to perform a classification study for the miscellaneous employees and a total compensation study for all employees. So I'm going to walk you through the methodology on both studies and give to you our findings and answer any questions that you might have. We began the process with the classification study. We distributed position description questionnaires to each employee in the miscellaneous unit for them to complete, describing their essential duties, purpose of their position, and any qualifications they felt needed to perform the position. When we compared that against the current classification, we gave them an opportunity for individual interviews if they wanted, or we requested an interview with at least a representative sampling for each classification. So we, after review of the position description questionnaires, we came back to the city and interviewed the employees, again, to get clarification on information that they had written into. Sometimes it's difficult to put in writing everything that you do in a classification, so we gave them the opportunity to clarify anything that they felt they needed. After the interview process, we went back and we developed and updated classifications and presented with all new classification descriptions for the miscellaneous unit. As part of that process, there were a couple recommended changes. There were 2 classifications that we recommended be retitled to comply more with what we find in the industry. And those 2 classifications were the accounting assistant and the senior accounting assistant, and we recommended that they be called account clerks and senior account clerks. We also recommended that a class series be developed with the account clerk being flexibly staffed, having 2 levels, a 1 and a 2, an entry level and a journey level, and then the senior account clerk being the advanced journey or lead position in that series. We found that there were 3 positions within classifications that we felt would be more appropriately classified in another classification or reclassed. And that there was an account clerk that we recommended being reclassified to an office assistant 1, a office assistant being reclassified to an administrative assistant, and then a recreation slash office assistant being reclassed to a recreation leader slash office assistant 1. So those were our findings in the classification study. Again, we also expanded the series of the office assistants to have an office assistant 1, 2 to represent an entry and then a journey level within that series. Any questions on the classification study? So you should have been distributed copies of the report that had all the updated classifications in them. The second part of the study, or the second study, was the compensation study. This is a total compensation study for all positions within the city. So we looked at management as well as miscellaneous. Before we begin any compensation study, there are 3 variables that need to be determined. The first one being the comparators to be chosen. I believe through this process, the council had an opportunity to approve the 9 comparators that were chosen, primarily for geographical location, competitiveness, that being recruiting from cities that are in close proximity, scope of services, population served, median cost value, those types of factors were considered in determining the 9 comparators. In the end, the comparators were Atwater, Ceres, Dos Palos, Gustine, Houston, Livingston, Los Banos, Oakdale, and Patterson. The second variable to be determined were the benchmarks. We chose 16 benchmarks, so these are the classifications that were surveyed in the marketplace. We choose benchmarks for those in a class series. We use the journey level because it is the level that we're most consistently going to find in the other comparators. We choose single incumbent classifications or standalone classifications that we're likely to find good comparator data on. So in the end, there were 8 benchmarks in miscellaneous and 8 benchmarks in the management group that were surveyed. And then the last variable is the benefit data to be collected. We pick up the top monthly salary, so that's going to be the top step in a salary range, that's top natural step, so not including any longevity programs that there might be. And then we collect benefits data, we look at retirement. Again, we're going to pick up the dollar value that the city contributes on behalf of the employee towards benefits. So we're going to be looking at PERS, the amount that the city contributes on behalf of the employee for the PERS program. Any enhancements, we pick up the cost of those enhancements, which is based on an average cost through the state of California. We receive those numbers from PERS, so we're looking at kind of an apples-to-apples comparison across the board. We pick up, if they are participating in Social Security, we pick up the portion, the cost to the city for that plan. And then if they're not participating in PERS or they have some other sort of retirement plan, we'll also capture the cost. We look at insurances. Again, the maximum that the city will pay on behalf of the employee plus family consistently across the board. That's for medical, dental, vision, life, disability insurance. And then we pick up leaves for a 5-year employee across the board, how much is paid in vacation and holidays. So that's the benefit data that we gather. After we gather all that information, for each benchmark classification, we provided the city with 3 data spreadsheets, one that summarizes the top monthly salary data, one that summarizes the benefits detail, and one that summarizes the total compensation data. So that information was reviewed by the city and distributed to employees. Once that review occurred, I think the employees are actually still in the process of looking through that. We then go through and make range plate. We create a salary schedule, and for each position that was benchmarked, we calculate the market salary recommendation and place that classification within a range that is closest to the market data. And then for those classifications that we did not survey, we use common market differentials or a combination of common market differentials as well as past pay practices within the city. So for instance, we benchmark the journey level, perhaps an entry level would be 10% below that, and a senior level would be 10% above or 15% above, depending upon the relationship, past relationship. So that being said, all of that data was provided. Our findings were, for the miscellaneous group, the average findings based on just the top monthly salary alone was that the city was below market by 6.4%. That's just for the top monthly salary data, and there's a range of all the benchmarks in there. For the total compensation data for the miscellaneous unit, we found that on average, the classifications were 7.9% above market. So below market in top monthly and above in total compensation. Same was found for the management unit, where they were found to be 19.5% below based on base salaries alone, and 6.4% below, so 19.5 below to 6.4 below for total compensation. So what we saw was that the benefits packet actually contributed to bringing the classifications closer to the market. One of the biggest differences was in the contribution to medical insurance. So that was our findings. I'm open to any questions or further information.
Questions? Comments? Back on.
Mayor, if there's no questions of the council, we're going to respectfully request that the council defer any acceptance or action on these documents into our next meeting, and that will give us additional time to meet and confer with the miscellaneous union group.
Okay, great.
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
time.
Thank you. Item B, adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, a resolution amending the annual transportation claim and authorizing the city manager to execute the same on behalf of the city of Newman.
Good evening again. The item before the council is a request for approval to submit the amended annual TDA claim to StanCog. The claim will provide the city with a total of $67,932 to offset costs in this year's budget for streets and LTF. Anybody have any questions?
Questions? I guess not.
Nope.
Some action then?
I'd move to adopt resolution 2008 next to number. A resolution amending the annual transportation claim and authorization for the city manager to execute the same on behalf of the city of Newman.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item C, adopt resolution number 2007, next to number, declaring certain, should probably be 8, huh, or not? Declaring certain personal property surplus property and authorizing disposal or sale of property.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Council. We have a number of items here that believe they are all in the police department. Declared surplus. The vast majority of them are bicycles that are seized through a variety of different situations, whether it be found property or evidence, these types of things. They've all either been adjudicated through the criminal court process, or we've been unable to locate the actual owners of these items and return them to them, unfortunately. So as customary, the time has come to declare those items as surplus and dispose of them, so we can continue to make room for the remainder items we continue to collect in the course of our duties. So we'd ask that these items be declared surplus so we can dispose of them properly.
Could open a
Mayor.
bicycle shop, huh?
Yeah.
Mayor, might I remind the council there was an attachment B from the recreation that is placed
I
in
did.
front of them, so.
I wasn't aware.
So we're actually looking at attachment
Oh, okay.
A, which is the listing from, that the chief is recommending, and then we also have an attachment B that was placed in front of you tonight, and that's the other city departments in their list.
It's like old computers, couple
Yeah, there's a lot of PD stuff in there, there's some Crown Vics.
cars, hey.
Well, actually, yeah, those are from the police department. They've been back there for some time, but require quite a substantial amount of repairs that are more than they're worth to replace.
Any questions? Anybody see something they like on the list? If not, some direction then.
I'll move to adopt resolution, is it gonna be 2008 or
I
2007?
think it should be 8. That was last year's. Was
Yeah. Resolution number 2008, next number, declaring certain personal property surplus property and authorizing disposal or sale of property thereof.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chief. Item B, report on transfer of property to school district.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of the Hearthstone Ranch agreement and subdivision, there is a 10-acre school site in there. I believe most of you are familiar with that site. It's located on Barrington Avenue, and it's adjacent to Herb Barrington Park. Actually, right on the other side of where we built the new parking lot that nobody uses.
I have noticed that, actually. They'd rather park double in the
Is the street.
street, but that's
It gets a lot of use for soccer.
another issue for another
So,
day.
but as part of that, the original project had a 3.5-acre storm drainage basin, and there was an agreement between the developer and the school district, where the school district was going to allow the developer to use the rear 3.5 acres as part of a storm drainage basin as an interim solution. Well, with the current market the way it was in 2003 and 2004, and they proceeded to go ahead and put in the channel, the Sherman Parkway channel, all the way out to Hills Ferry, and that eliminated the need for this basin. Unfortunately, one of the things that happened in the transfer of property, the city of Newman was assigned title to the 3.5-acre property of the storm drainage basin. Now, the school district is starting to work into a design phase for that elementary school site, that 10-acre site there. And it was noticed when we received a tax bill for that property. Wait a minute, all of a sudden we own this property. I tried to sell it back to them, but they didn't want to have anything to do with that. So anyways, so what we are requesting tonight is that the council authorize me to go ahead and transfer this property over back to the school district. And we're asking you to do that just with a simple majority, and we'll do it through a minute order. I have put in front of you today the grant deed, a picture of a copy of the legal description, and a map showing the site. So you're all familiar with where that is. So if you have any questions, I can answer those at this time.
Questions? Not some action to give this property back to the rightful owner?
I so move that we adopt resolution 2008, next number, authorizing the city manager to transfer property to Newman Crow's Landing Unified School District.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is that good enough, Tom, for that? Or
Yeah, we'll just,
do we need a roll call vote or? anything?
no, we'll just
Okay.
create a paper copy of that to back up your vote.
Okay. Okay. Item E, report on U.S. Club Soccer League, Newman Nitro.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Staff recommends the City Council to enter an agreement with U.S. Club Soccer League, known as, their team name, Newman Nitro. At the May 8th meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission, it was approved unanimously for the council to approve the agreement with the soccer league. The U.S. Soccer League, Newman Nitro, has a current use of facility agreement with the Newman Crow's Landing Unified School District. They are asking to use Sherman Park and Barrington Park as a backup facility on the days the Newman Crow's Landing Unified School District facility has prior commitment. They have submitted proper insurance certificate in the amount of $2 million. Just a little background on the Newman Nitro. They do consist of 18 high school students here from Orristimba High. And they compete in the Patterson Competitive Soccer League, number 3085. Attached to your report is also the certificate of insurance and the possible contract. Fiscal impact on the city is none. And in conclusion, the staff recommends City Council to approve the recommendation of the Parks and Rec Commission and allow the facilities by U.S. Club Soccer League, Newman Nitro.
Questions? Comments?
Question on the $2 million on the agreement. Is it 1 million? Is there a difference here?
We usually ask for 1 million. They have already submitted in the amount of 2 million.
We ask for no less than 1 million.
Looks like their policy with the group is 2 million, so they gave, yeah. It's attached this onto their original policy.
More soccer for Bob.
I'm ready.
Your questions? If not, some direction? Do we need a action or not really? We do. Yeah.
I move for approval of the agreement.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Items from the city manager and staff. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. I think I'm getting that asthma. Report from Supervisor DeMartini. Sorry, Jim.
Good evening, Mayor Panazia, council members. I know my allergies have been bothering me too. The wind has aggravated a bad situation and something that's almost intolerable at times. I just had a couple of things for you tonight. As you know, this will be a tough budget year both for the county and the cities and of course the state of California. The thing I want to just talk to you a little bit tonight is about the libraries. As you know, the Stanislaus County libraries are funded primarily through an 8-cent sales tax, which the sales tax revenue has been declining in Stanislaus County for the last year, and it's at presently about $4 million less than it was this time last year. That is the primary source of the library funding of about $7 million. County puts in $850,000. But because of the decline in the sales tax revenue, this year it's going to be necessary to reduce the hours of the library for every library. I think after talking to staff that we could probably would have to eliminate 1 day for the city of Newman. The original plans were for 2, but I think that 1, that would give you 29 hours a week. Since you're already closed 2 days already, it would have to close an additional day. Realizing that it's tough budget times for everybody, the cost if the city were willing or able to keep the library open a day or 2 a month that it would close, the cost to the city of Newman would be about $400, and the county could absorb the overhead cost in its budget. At present, the cost of operating the library is about $745 a day. So if you were able to keep the library open, the cost would be about $400 a day. And of course, I know you have your budgetary problems too. It is going to be very difficult for everybody this next year as the state budget, is an unknown what the state is going to do. And generally when they get into the trouble that they do, they steal the money from the cities and the counties and the special districts to cover their own budget, and I would expect that to probably happen again this year. But I just wanted to give you an update on what may happen with the library. I feel fairly certain that the 2-day closure for the Newman Library will not happen. It will just be 1 day. And those are the costs for keeping it open. The only other thing I'd like to mention is the Healthcare Task Force. We are slowly making some progress on that. We have been meeting about every 5 to 6 weeks. The next meeting is June 19th in Gustine as we rotate from Gustine, Patterson, Newman in that order. At the last meeting we had somebody from UC Merced, Jennifer Smith, who gave us a very nice presentation on telemedicine. Telemedicine is reasonably new, although it has been around in the larger cities for a while. That's where you can contract with specialists. If you had somebody who needed, say, a dermatologist, which are in really short supply, through the telemedicine, the diagnosis with say a nurse practitioner, a specialist would be able to look at that patient and make a diagnosis and prescribe some sort of treatment. This has applications for specialty and psychiatry, and so it was a good presentation. We are trying to come up with the cheapest and cost and most effective way of trying to provide health care for the West Side. And this is a possibility. It has great prospects, and there may be some grants available to buy the equipment within 6 months or so. However, we are farther than 6 months from getting anything off the ground. As I've learned that the medical facilities in the operation of them is far more complex than what I had realized a year ago. But we are making some steady progress, and that was the latest thing that we did in the last meeting. So as I say, the next meeting will be June 19th in Gustine, and after that meeting, I'll give you a report on how we're doing. Okay. Thank you.
Jim, real fast, I know we both got calls on the pet spay and neuter program that was supposed to happen here in Newman. I know when we met earlier today, we talked about that. You want to just elaborate a little bit on what happened on that deal?
Yes, our past director did not follow the board's direction and overspent the spay and neuter program by about $100,000 before we realized it. And it took a while because the vouchers were sold, but then the veterinary bills come in later. And the intent of the board was to pass out the vouchers at the clinics, the mobile clinics that we have where we do the vaccinations. And then those people who sometimes stand in line for a couple of hours would be given the opportunity to get the vouchers. Unfortunately, our past director, who has since found different employment, was giving out these vouchers at the counter at the animal shelter. And he was just giving them out and just giving them out. It was just like they were candy. And so that's why we overspent the program, and we will not be able to start it up again until July 1st. We also had a decrease in revenue as, unbeknown to the board, he stopped enforcement of the pet ordinance, and especially in the breeding permits. And we had people that were dedicated to going around looking at people who were advertising in the paper and getting them to pay the breeding permit, or citing them and then forcing them to get that. Was a requirement in Stanislaus County to get a breeding permit. So we had problems that we did not realize. We overspent the budget by between the decrease in revenue and the increase in the vouchers by about $250,000. And so that is the reason Newman didn't get the vouchers, is the county had overspent the program and had to stop it for this fiscal year, which will begin anew on July 1st. So it was unfortunate that happened, and it was certainly not the intent of the board to cut Newman off. I know everybody was supposed to get their equal chance on this, and I suppose I could pass the buck and then blame the director, but really the board is ultimately responsible for that, and we just did not know. And so we will make it up to you next fiscal year.
Thank you, Jim. As I suggested earlier, make sure we're the first one next fiscal year when it comes around the cities. That'd be good. Be good.
I will certainly mention that to our new director. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Items from city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to take the time to announce that the cities of Patterson and Newman, plus the West Stanislaus Fire District, will hold a joint meeting on Thursday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Louis J. Newman Building. The primary focus will be to discuss the Citygate report that this council authorized the City of Newman to participate in, and then also to discuss other potential ways that the cities of Newman and Patterson and potentially West End can work together not only for fire protection service, but different type of services and delivering services to our community. Also, I wanted to announce that the San Joaquin Valley National Cemetery will be holding a Memorial Day event on Sunday, May 25th, and that commences at 11 a.m. This year they will be celebrating the Navy. If any of the council members plan to attend, please let Mike know and he'll RSVP for you, although that needs to occur by tomorrow. That's only if you know. You can still attend if you don't want, even though you don't RSVP. There's going to be a community discussion regarding gangs in Riverbank on Thursday. Our police chief, our detective, and our school resource officer will be in attendance at that meeting. I believe that is a meeting that is set aside for community officials and not necessarily open to the public. They will have separate events that will ultimately be open to the public on that as well. We do have a 2-on-2 that is scheduled for Monday, the 19th, with Councilman Kelly out of the town. I'm going to check and see if Dr. Foss in the school district still wants to have that. So I will report that back to our other member, Mayor Pro Tem Martina. And then lastly, the soccer league, by which you approved that contract tonight. One of the things that will come out of that is most of the communities around here have a year-round soccer program by which the high schools participate. Currently in Newman, we offer ours up until high school through our recreational program. This will give the high school soccer opportunities to be more competitive in their leagues. And I know they did win a championship maybe a couple years ago, but it's an opportunity for them to train on a year-round basis. These leagues will operate in this, I believe, in the spring and also in the fall. So, but they, again, our recreational programs will have first opportunity on our fields. So with that, I can entertain any questions that you may have.
Questions? Thank you, Michael. Other staff reports this evening?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I have two informational items. Next week on May 22nd, I will be attending what the Caltrans calls a kickoff meeting for the Plaza project. The engineers from RRM will be involved, all the Caltrans staff. They'll be going over all the environmentals, the encroachment permits that need to take place. So we're moving on that. The second thing is we have about $400,000 in Prop 1B monies. And when we're proposing to use some of this money to rejuvenate some of the streets in the subdivisions using slurry seals and other repair materials. And we'll do this so that we can prolong the life of the asphalt before it starts breaking up badly. We've already have some pitting and some cracking taking place. So a staff member from Boyle, our consultants, Boyle Engineering, will accompany me Thursday morning. We'll go throughout and do an assessment of the street conditions. And we'll be bringing back a plan and proposal for your review and approval shortly. And then once we do that, then bid specification documents can go forth. Any questions?
Bernie, did we actually get that money?
Yes, we have
Okay.
$400,000.
Because I know they were him-hawing around about it for a while, but we actually got the check.
Yes,
That's
we
good
do.
to hear.
And I've been talking with our engineers, and they're most savvy in claiming those monies, so they'll do all the paperwork and get everything moving on that.
Good.
Point of clarification, we haven't received the check yet. What we're doing is all the preliminary work, and we'll be submitting the request for funds.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know it was initially talked about of holding that back.
Yeah.
Because of the budget. So,
And that's why we're
yeah.
trying to get our application in now. Also, just a point of clarification, as Ernie indicated, he'll be working with Caltrans on the Plaza project. Just for the council's information, StanCog, of which the mayor sits on the board, we have been fortunate enough to receive a $550,000 grant federal grant, and that's what we will be doing on the kickoff. Is there's a $550,000 federal grant that we were awarded 2 or 3 years ago, and we're going to be moving forward with expanding those funds at this particular point in time. Also, we plan to use redevelopment agency funds as part of that. So at this point in time, we don't have any plans to use any general fund monies towards that project. And as you know, general fund monies are funds that we use for the daily operations of our community, public safety, and recreational programs. So.
Any other staff reports?
Couple of informational items as well. We talked before about the drugstore program that took place today at YOLO. Very well received. For those not familiar with that, it's very similar to every 15 minutes program that's been around for a number of years involving driving under the influence. The Highway Patrol puts that on as it's a dramatic presentation, very realistic, usually in the high school setting. This is a drug program that's put on in the middle school setting, funded no cost to the city of Newman. 2 cities in Stanislaus County were selected this year. Oakdale was last week, and Newman was this week. Went off very well. I don't know how many had an opportunity to stop by today and see that. But just the short version of that, it starts in the beginning as an anti-drug presentation, and it takes the students through a series of reenactments, so to speak, to ultimately the conclusion being the child's funeral, where the child's parents actually give the eulogy, and then they have the students walk by the casket, and the surprise to them is they think they're going to see the student who they've seen throughout the process. It's actually a mirror, and they see back at themselves. So you see some pretty dramatic facial expressions when that occurs. So by all accounts, the school district was very pleased with the program. It's put on in cooperation through the Stanislaus County Drug Enforcement Agency, the National Guard, the Sheriff's Department was a contributor, and then a number of community businesses also donated to make that happen today. So it went off very well. Everyone was very pleased with that. We're also very happy to cooperate with the school district last week, as we mentioned earlier, about the collision that happened near Yosemite National Park. We were able to assist the school district with that on the return and the reunification of the parents with the children. Probably all can imagine what that experience must have been like for a lot of the parents who didn't have any communication with the kids all day. So it was a little emotional, and very, very minor incidents occurred, nothing of any significance. We were able to work hand in hand with the school and get through that. Some of you may have noticed the flags at half-staff today in the city buildings. This week is National Peace Officer Memorial Week throughout the country, and today is specifically National Peace Officer Memorial Day. It was actually proclaimed by President Kennedy, and I think in 1962, and is carried on throughout the years. And President Bush ordered all flags at half-staff today. So there'll be a number of ceremonies throughout the week. You may see on the news or so on. And lastly, it's ongoing and into the first week of June. The Click It or Ticket program is happening now, so you'll see some additional officers out from time to time on a grant to enforce seatbelt laws. That'll be happening throughout the remainder of May and to the first week of June. All of that's funded by the state, paying for the overtime for that. So be careful and wear your seatbelts. So we don't have to have any issues with that. And that's it. Thank you.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
How do we, compliance-wise, state, as far as seatbelts, do we have a pretty, I think it's up 90, is it that high?
Actually, pretty well. Part of it was that we had to do a survey before, and that was done prior to my arrival. But the compliance was pretty high, although they still awarded us funds. So it wasn't, I don't have the exact figures, but we'll have another meeting before the program ends, and by then I'll have some data, how many citations we've issued. It's only I think it's less than a week now that we've been doing it. So by the next council meeting, I'll have some numbers, how many citations we've issued and so on, and come back with those statistics. I know we were high, I just don't know the exact number.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks.
evening again. Just want to let you know that our youth soccer registration began on Monday, and that continues through June 13th for our regular session of registration. Late registration is then from June 16th through the 27th, and the cost is $40 for Newman residents and additional $10 for participants residing outside the Newman Crows Landing School District. We've also set the dates for our camps this summer. Soccer camp is July 14th through the 18th, and that will be instructed by recreation staff and referees. Basketball camp will be held July 28th through August 1st. That will be instructed by our newly appointed Parks and Rec Commissioner Chuck Messer and Recreation Department referees. We have added volleyball camp this year. We're pretty excited about that, and that will be held August 4th through 8th. That is instructed by Merced College student athlete / Oristimba High School alumni Nicole Moore and recreation assistant Stephanie Lopez. Also this summer, I had mentioned that we had changed our arts and crafts program to a program we're calling Fit Kids. That will begin June 2nd, continue through August 8th. That is Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. held at the Teen Center, and that is free of charge. And it's going to be more focused on fitness. We're going to be playing games and walking and jogging, and we have a whole list of activities. We will be doing the swim field trips once again this year, and those will be held on Wednesdays and Fridays beginning June 4th and continuing to August 8th. I have been working with Dr. Lance Turner and Mr. Don Purdy from Future Stars 2000. That's the tennis program I had spoke about before. And on May 2nd, we attended assemblies at Bonita School and Hunt School here in Newman. And Bonita, we had 150 students at the assembly, and at Hunt, we had over 400. Bonita held their clinic. After they do the camp, they teach a clinic which costs $25 for kindergarten through second grades and $30 for third through fifth grades. Bonita already held their clinic May 8th and 9th, and it was kind of a rush clinic. They only had, I believe it was 9 students participate, but they all come away with a new racket. And I had to go purchase a racket for myself to play with my child now. Hunt's clinic is set up for May 22nd and 23rd. Von Renner had their assembly today, and I was only there for 2 sessions. They brought them in at grade levels, and they did it, which actually worked better because that way you're only dealing with maybe 60 to 80 students at a time instead of 400. And that way they all get a chance to actually participate. And their clinic will be held May 27th and 28th. And after they do the clinic, we then will be holding lessons, and our first session begins Friday, June 27th. And there's 3 levels. There's Tiny Tot, there's Junior Academy, and then there is Junior Excellent / Adult. So it is all the way from Tiny Tot all the way to Senior Citizen. You can fit somewhere in there. Any questions?
Thank you.
I thought I would take Randy's time slot since he wasn't here.
Any others? We're done with our staff reports. Thank you very much. Then move on to council comments. Ed?
Just a couple of brief things. As Chief alluded to, National Peace Officers Week, Mercer County will be holding their Peace Officer Memorial tomorrow, which I would help set up. I'm not sure if many of you know, our recreation director's brother, which was a good friend of mine, Deputy Fuller, was a deputy of Merced County for many years. And he was taken from us in a car accident almost 30 years ago, Terry? Yeah, on Highway 152 in Midway, if I believe, right? I was working that night. So he will be recognized tomorrow at our memorial program. His name will be read off. He was killed while on duty. So if you've never attended a Peace Officer Memorial, as I'm sure the Chief will allude to, it's pretty touching and it's pretty emotional. Even if you haven't lost a loved one, if you've been through a peace officer's funeral, it's pretty emotional. So if you happen to be around Merced tomorrow around 10 o'clock at our administration building, that will be taking place. Also, this afternoon I had to go to the doctor, and as I was walking in, I helped a lady into Dr. Conga's office who was on oxygen tanks and everything, and I think it was just a matter of coincidence that she mentioned to me, why didn't we have, she knew I was a council member, why didn't we have handicap parking close too? And I knew that we have handicap parking in the rear of Dr. Conga's office, but there's only 4 handicap spots in downtown, only 1 on the public street, and that's here in front of the museum. I don't know if we can, I actually talked to Dr. Conga about it once I got in to see him. I don't know what the possibility would be of getting a handicap spot put in front of his office. It just makes sense to me that we make our handicap spots user-friendly. It does absolutely no good for a handicapped person to have to walk half a block, in this case, lady with oxygen tanks. So I don't know what we can do. I would like to see us put a handicap spot in front of Dr. Conga's office for those patients who do come to him regularly and do not have the ability to get to the rear for whatever reason. Is that a possibility?
We'll go ahead and take a look at that. It's not handicap. One accessible site would have to be van accessible. We'd have to put in a ramp and a few other things. So let us take a look at it. Let us look at the cost. Let us look where the tree wells are and a few other things. And
Yeah,
and
it just makes sense to me. And after all the years of working here, I never really, I have to confess, I never really took a serious look at it until today when after that incident, I did go downtown and I looked and I thought, well, there's only 4 spots. And there's only 1 marked handicap spot on our street, and that's in front of the museum. There's one in the parking lot by St. George. There's one in the parking lot between the tank and the barber shop, and there's one at Pioneer Drug. So I just think that we need to make our handicap spots more user-friendly. That's only 1 spot I could think of. I don't know about any other spots in the downtown area, but I think for sure that in front of the doctor's office just makes sense to me that we have a handicap spot out in front.
We'll look at that and get back to you.
Thank you.
in the council.
That's it.
Thanks, Ed.
Sure.
Bob?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Nothing? Mike?
I've got 2 items this evening. First, Adam, don't get a sense of false security. Our meetings usually run a little longer than an hour, so plan to be here. The second thing, the other day I saw something I thought was very distasteful, at least in my opinion. And on Sherman Parkway, when I was coming into town, there was some political posters, the ones that have the 2 wires that go down, all along Sherman Parkway. I don't know if the city has an ordinance, has a who can, who can't, but I see now that they're no longer in the ground and they're thrown over into the ditch. So
The
do
denim recall ones?
Yeah.
Those things
Yeah,
showed
I-
up at night everywhere, that one night.
There'd be 100 of them
Yeah.
Yeah.
along Sherman Park.
Yep.
So I found it distasteful, not so much as far as being political, just that it looked like garbage on city property. Do we have any policies in place?
Yeah, that spurred a very lively discussion within City Hall as we evaluated our sign ordinance. And currently, right now, you can place political signs in the right-of-way during certain periods of time. Now, there are exceptions when we start interfering with sprinklers and view and those type of things that are public safety concern, then we're looking at those as well. So, but we're evaluating our entire sign ordinance, and that'll be part of it.
Good. Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Just want to remind everyone about the fun run coming up on the 25th, Hogs and Rods. All proceeds will go to the Newman K-9 program. This Monday, the 19th, Fall Festival planning meeting at my house. Everyone's welcome. We definitely need help. 1339 Stevens. I believe this coming Tuesday is a baccalaureate for the school. And don't forget the 22nd, the joint meeting. And I think that's it. I think everything else has been covered. And if there's nothing else, I'll
So moved.
second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.